Hello, folks, and welcome to the Historical Fencing Guild's 22nd episode of the Livestream. I am, of course, Nicholas Tucker, your host, author, and online swordmaster. This week we've got a good bit of things. We're going to wait for people to come rolling in, but thanks for some viewers. As you can see, we are still up in my study area. That's because until very recently we didn't even have internet, and power was dubious. Now, those of you who have been to my home, which is very few, know my basement, lower floor is not exactly the funnest place to be in the dark for a reset. So basically, I've been waiting for things to settle, and the new computer that I was hooking up was updating. It's paused right now so that I can run this lovely live stream with you guys. So it means I'm going to have to shoot a little bit off the cuff. But we've got some good stuff this week, folks. We've got, yes, this guy will be coming out later in answer to some questions. And as always, I will take and answer your question to the best of my ability, including the words you never hear on Facebook. I don't know. So you can message me here, or you can message me through the app. But before we get going, I got to pay my bills. The live stream is brought to you by The Simple Sword by Nicholas Tucker. The easy to learn, quick to understand, method of understanding basic Western martial arts. I'm glad we got people coming through the door. This is available through Amazon, the link in the bottom, or just look like Amazon authors / Nicholas Tucker, and you'll get me. All right, we got some good stuff this week. Like I said, I want to talk about a few things, and we're going to let me check. My phone's pinging, so I'm just checking to see if it's related. No, I have nothing to do with Special Task Force Unicorn, and there's no such thing as unicorns. Moving on. Good evening, John. You were actually going to be mentioned. You were one of the first people I had in mind tonight, believe it or not. So I'm very glad you're here. Since John is here, Steph. Wonderful, wonderful. My favorite Goblin Bard has joined us. We are getting I got the message, Nick, what is your favorite sword? And I'm like, I get this a lot. A lot of people ask me, what's your favorite sword? What's your favorite style? And I had to think about it because, like, the sword I use the most is my my garden machete, the little camp garden machete I featured last week. But what is my favorite live steel sword? And believe it or not, John Miner is responsible for the acquisition of this because he gave it to my wife, and my wife gave it to me, I believe. This is my Bilbao. It is a Spanish rigged, and you can barely see. I'm going to probably restore it. Toledo, Spain. And this is essentially a small sword. It's a Bilbao, and it is a short rapier / small sword. I absolutely adore this weapon. It is one of my favorite things I've ever had, both to hold and to use. And I am looking, and I have been looking, both for a suitable trainer that really moves and handles like this, and a practical live steel version other than this that might be purchasable. Not that there's any flaw in this, but this has significant associations to me. And I would love a match set because I am a dual wielder. I like weapons I can wield indoors. And yes, I'm touching the blade a lot that I normally wouldn't, but I intend to oil it up. So, John, if you're following, please, can you give me the origin of how you came across this? Because I've been trying to, this is actually a decently hard sword to track down the like of, and I would love to have, like I said, a more practical version both for fencing and for self-defense. Like if I were to pick a sword to hang off of my side, it would probably be one of these, and then either a second or a reasonable parry dagger. I haven't quite decided because I flirt with sword and dagger, and when you, one second, look at my current parry dagger, it is offhand parry, decently close in length to my actual sword, but it's actually quite a bit heavier. I do like this. I got this at Feast of the Hunter's Moon a couple years ago. I was out with James Robertson, Jim. But yes, I'm still trying to get the right feeling gear. I'm tracking gear, and I've been looking up some new options that I'm going to talk about because I've got some people like the lovely Cindy Kemp who may or may not be here. And thank you for the likes, guys. 5 views, 2 likes. Don't be afraid of that like button. That's what lets that's what lets YouTube know that I matter. My TV runs faster than my phone, apparently. They usually do, I find. Let me see. Alrighty, yes, my TV does run. Boop. I can't remember if I got it, but it spoke to me for Amanda. Yes, and Amanda, when it speaks to her for me, and John, I've never been one to acquire items that belong to somebody else. Not that way, although in my past. But I have found this is not mine. Most legendary for people who don't know is when I called John and I said, John, your cat's here. He said, I don't have a cat. And I'm like, well, of course you don't, because I'm holding your cat. And he came over and it was indeed his cat. But long story. Odd times. And we are living in odd times, folks. Off topic, but not entirely. There have been some fascinating... Oh, I'm watching from my tablet, so can the lovely Cindy Kemp is watching. She messaged me through Facebook because she's watching through a tablet. That is fine and dandy. I just want to make sure you guys are getting good content. I've got some news. Give me a second. The beverage of today is a mocha coffee with a bit of ginger and nutmeg. And almond milk. But because people ask me that too. I wanted something kind of festive. I'm feeling kind of starting that fall into the mood for Claw, which I'll talk about another time too. And of course, being backed up by a chaser of Mountain Lightning, because God bless caffeine, folks. This is what keeps our nation running. Now, news has been very interesting from the practical weapon set, and it's fascinating. I as a student of Western and Eastern, to an extent, martial arts, I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by what people do, what they acquire, where they go. I'm fascinated in the firearms branch of martial arts because I think modern QC, is it not just QCB? I'd say the modern infantryman is a type of martial art that isn't appreciated as such. Because think about it, you're combining attacks with movement. Okay? Marksmanship is the act of hitting a target from a location, usually over a long range. Remember? That sounds good, John. John's got bourbon and orange cream soda. I can see it. Got a little bit of island flair. I can dig it. Nothing wrong with that. That just booze and I don't get along. Well, to those of you who don't know, my whole family is allergic to alcohol. We break out in handcuffs. So I don't drink, never have, never will. But I don't judge you guys for it. Because it's possible to not partake in something and not be a dick about it. This is something I think we've lost in the modern world. Where was I going? Anyway, what I find interesting is with the rise in unrest and stuff, there's been a buyout on weapons. I got static water. Static water? Steph got static water. What is static water? I mean, are you being sarcastic or is it like electrified? Yeah, John's going 12 gauge. Yes, John. 12 gauge Greatsword Florentine is referencing a novel that was written by me, and like so many great first novels, I have been wise enough not to publish it. But But caveat, I am considering a massive re-edit to change names, places, for assorted reasons. And I have some other stuff going on set in that very world. Not this week. I was starting a short story set in that setting. So, it was sarcasm for club soda, bottled water. Okay. Oh my gosh, I can see that. That does taste like static. Makes sense. All right. Now, I've been watching some stuff, and you'll notice I'm playing with my old friend, the Chef Knife. I'm playing with my old friend, the Chef Knife, because I really want to encourage folks who don't have a self-defense system right now to find one. Now, I will tell you, I can teach historical and I can teach adaptive that has self-defense applications, because I am a firm believer in what you do should never be so ceremonial it won't work in the field. And that was something that I butted heads many times with my fellow fencers back in the SCA, and to an extent with the LARP, some of my well-meaning LARP compatriots. The idea that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. And I'm not going to train metagame techniques that score points in the game, but would give dangerous habits. The only dangerous habit I have is calibration, in that I have trained myself to control my calibration in most of my styles. There are a couple I deliberately don't fight often, and I don't fight light, for the sole purpose of keeping that muscle memory kind of flowing. But, yeah, sorry. I'm looking at what props I have for discussion purposes. Field in real life, exactly. There's if you I dislike dueling culture in what it can do of making artificial fairness. Oh, that's dead. Anyway, there's a mindset and I love the concepts of honor, and honor has a place. In self-defense, you have a system of rules you follow that have nothing to do really about your feeling per se, and have to do with staying alive and not facing legal ramifications after. That's why I preach, and I will continue to preach, applied cowardice. What that means is, if you can get out of a fight, get out of a fight. Avoid it. Don't, if you can't, if you have to fight, you fight like, you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and brother, it's starting to rain. I love that meme. I love that mentality. But I also don't like showy, flourishy styles that might work in a one-on-one mitigated match, but won't work in a melee battle. And to non-Scadians, non-LARPies, a melee, my definition is when you have multiple opponents all brawling it out. Usually, there's some type of victory condition. Oftentimes, it's last man standing, wins. But sometimes you've got things like capture the flag, escort missions, things like that. And when the guild gets rolling again, we'll go back to doing those, because those are the kind of drills that interest people. Escape and evade is a neat thing to try to do as a fencer. We used to play that a little bit. I'd like to do more drilling when you are grotesquely underarmed for the situation. So yeah, they get a knife, not a dagger, not think they get a kitchen knife simulator or something similar like this, or less, and then they against like sword wielding opponents, and they have to last so long or escape an area, through whatever means necessary. Things like this are wonderful drills. Now, from the writing side, Fox and Hound, exactly. Fox and Hound is great. But I like that idea of playing Fox and Hound with, practical, like, not just rapiers. I don't want just to be fencing. I'd love to see Fox and Hound with things like, okay, you've got 8 opponents, and you have 3 arrows and a machete clone, maybe just a nice little short backup sword. Let me grab something. So maybe you got this and a light bow with 3 arrows. Don't die. Something like that could be great. I'd like to start seeing people do more shield wall drills. I am fascinated by the number of people I know who are both politically motivated and classically trained, but not applying their knowledge of situations to shield walls. I find that interesting. I'm not saying I condone it, but I find it interesting. Bring it on. Sounds like me on a good day. Yeah, John. Yeah. One of these days when the world clears out, I'm going to get a hold of either some space or the backyard will be big enough, because you'd be surprised how big my backyard is. I'm going to have some mini melees and fire. When everything is over, if I can, if sanity can keep my people alive while the, 12 plagues of 2020 or however high we're up to keep ransacking the region, I want to make sure I want to have a good bout day. And that's what I'd be doing for my birthday if I could. I'd be having like a freaking mini event in my backyard. I'm not even joking. I can't, so it will be me, some select spooky foods, some munchies, some bad movies, and possibly a fire. Also, you will note my internet may be a little dodgier than it was. We were without internet for 4 days. Most of my community was without power nearly that long. The irony of being on the wrong side of the tracks actually kind of benefited us with the transformer that happened to go. So things have been, again, dubious. I'm making up for it, but we're going to get there. We'll get there. Delays don't mean stops. That's the wonderful thing. But anyway, I'm going to get stuff rolling, and I'm trying to keep my mind rolling. So what's on the menu? What is on the menu? Well, folks, I did have a series of requested questions, as usual. Are more valid. I have been asked by one individual to do my version of how to fight X. X being your supernatural monsters, your classical D&D monsters, things like that. Let me know if that's something you want. So part of you guys' homework for the folks viewing is message me matchups or opponents you want to hear me discuss, because the whole monster hunting as a concept is a neat mental exercise. Oh, shield walls are beautiful things. Opposing them when you don't have one is a skill set. And escaping harassing techniques is a skill set people have been asking me about. So, I'll talk about historical melee techniques. I'm not going to apply them to anything out of context, but I will certainly discuss them. But getting back to that, it's like Cindy, who's watching but can't comment, has asked for how do you fight X style versus Y style. The problem is there's so many variants. I need a little bit more framing on that, guys. So if you want, video content on how I would oppose sorted preternatural or D&D things, hit me up. I will, I will go. I am comfortable going at long talks on those subjects. Being a sword master, being a dungeon master. I got 20 years of sword mastering and 30 years of dungeon mastering. And I'm still designing and working on the games for Luke Stone's Hybrids RPG. Well, the RPG for Luke Stone's Hybrids, The Sons of Gods. Neat game. Neat game. I made the game. Neat world. He just came out on trade paperback. So that's something you guys should look into. But we need to start. I'm going over the requested things, and I'm trying to get the juice up to do them. So discussion-wise, tell me what special opponents and matchups you guys want specifically, so that I know if you guys want how to fight a spearman with a shield, sword and board. My opinions on that. How to fight sword and board with a spear on that. We can discuss it and realize I am not pontificating you. I want this to always be an informed discussion. I want you to always feel comfortable to say, I don't know. I won't ever ding you for going, I don't know. And I hope there's the same courtesy. This is a little different than a lot of YouTube channels where someone comes out, hi, I'm so-and-so with so-and-so, and I know more than you. That's just not me. It's not that I might not know more than some people, but it's very rare that I know a lot about a lot of topics. I am a generalist. Shield with short spear is a great and classic, totally underappreciated fighting style. Totally. When you realize that shield and short spear actually kind of evolved to the Roman gladius and spatula. I'm not even going to try that word today. I'm sorry. My speech impediment is just not there today. But that short thrusting with spears, funky looking needle pointed. Well, my net is staticking, so I apologize if I'm breaking up like Max Headroom. And I realize just how dated I am by saying Spartan fighting's ancient world has some neat techniques, and I think we're going to see as the arms and armor race has ebbed and flowed, because it's not really ever balanced. We have gone through periods of we went first weapons, then weapons and armor started armor started being one of the big new things. E.g., one of the reasons the Spartans were so successful is they wore body armor. They had body armor and the other guys didn't. This is a big part, which is why I laughed 300, because their body armor was spray on abs. I would love to. There's this part of me that would love to see an extra where they just pop the abs off and they're actually painted brass. That'd be hilarious. But I am in the mood. Armor developed arms to match the armor. Then firearms pretty much trumped most body armor. So you went through a world where we revisited not having effective body armor, and weapons became lighter and faster and easier to use again. So you have it go from the arming sword to the rapiers, with sabers pretty much staying, because sabers were largely cavalry weapons. They, especially curved swords, flourish in cultures that don't use body armor, so they stay very long over. And you see a reemergence of light thrusting weapons, where you had these leaf blade weapons that the Celts favored very early on, that actually went away and came back, and you realize they handled a lot like shorter, almost rapiers and arming swords. And then the march to the small sword, which is a delightful weapon when you realize it was developed because it was lighter. Then you have the spadroon, which was developed because the civilized gentlemen were they trained with foils, and a saber fighting technique and foil fighting are radically different. So it made more sense to equip them with weapons that they could handle and they knew how to make go. Believe it or not, the spadroon is a wonderful form of weapon adaptation, and it may not be the best sword, but it is a very interesting sword. And then we get into cavalry sabers. I have a very modern saber just off the, in melee terms. The concepts are very, almost always, once the gun took the role, the pistol took the role of the sword as a sidearm, knives began to fall out of favor. Now you get into a period where there were really neat knives and weapons. I think World War I has some of the most unique hybridizations of where the sword, the bayonet, the knife all kind of come together with a little flirting of knuckle dusters and essentially maces when you look at the trench knives that lock in and like that. Meanwhile, knives continue to evolve, and you ended up with, increasingly more militant-looking knives. Knives went through the early combat knife, peaked at one level. You have the OSS dagger, okay? Very past it, you get into the K-bar tactical knife, which the Marines carried all the way through Vietnam. This is a very sturdy, very appreciated enough, incredibly versatile, deadly weapon. Oh, Gerber Model 1 dagger. Absolutely. And I will apologize about my internet popping in and out, guys. We're doing the best we can, and I am basically saving up all the money I'm making on the guild right now to try to afford the fees for the oncoming. We have a new internet service coming through, and I want to be able to the connection fees because I'm hoping to get a hard line. Pike set for horse is fascinating, and that's where the pike is a wonderful concept. I love like spear, pike, and long pole. I think they're very neat, especially when you realize that's where you start realizing the weapons of war. These are things like great swords, pikes, long spears, boar spears. Everybody who's listening, especially the people who write supernatural or fantasy where they're dealing with stuff, I want you to write down, if you don't have boar spear written down, you need to have boar spear written down. And I'm going to talk about that at length one of these days, possibly in the next few minutes. The boar spear is one of the cleverest designs for fighting monsters. And let me tell you, those of you who don't understand what a boar is, okay, I want you guys, this is one of those research, because I could tell you just how big a wild boar can get. Or I could look up boar hunting in Texas. I will put the caveat, it is gruesome. Animals get hurt. But I want you to understand the mass, the size, the ferocity of such one of these creatures, and realize that people used to hunt them with melee weapons. Wow. That's where you get something beautiful called the boar spear. The problem with the spear is if you don't kill what you've stabbed, okay, I need a spear, which I probably don't have. We got a spear. Bonk. I have speared. Whoa. I have speared you. Uh-oh. If I don't kill you and you come up right up the shaft of this spear, I've got problems. So how do we deal with that? Well, a very simple looking version would be to take something not terribly unlike this, which is probably closer to a partisan head. This was a rough draft. Yes, it's hideous, but it will do the point. You attach it to the end of the spear. Now, when I go to poke you, boop, the wings catch. Okay? Now they're elaborate on a boar spear so that they actually look remarkably like a parry dagger. So think of my boy. Hey, ghouls, it's your boy. On the end of this, ignoring for now the main Gauss guard, because I'm just going by whatever weapons I have handy. This, my friends, is what a boar spear looks like. So that's going to stop the bad guy at the end. So riddle me this, Batman. In a world of mythology and magic and supernatural creatures. Do you want something that can walk right up the spear and mess your day up, or do you want to stop them at its fixed length? Now, a squad of guys who know what they're doing with some short boar spears, we're going to say that nice 7.5-foot length, maybe longer, but that's a good. I find for pole arms, 7.5 foot is sort of a sweet spot, especially for shorter people. Now, somebody like John, yes, a scion on a you're not wrong. A scion on a shovel handle, but you want to think in terms of how do you stop something melee, because we don't. I get annoyed. One thing I really get annoyed with when I read games. I love superpowers. I love magic. But when you have fighters, don't give them magic as their ability unless you have a really good reason. The whole limit break concept of I'm taking damage and rage and it unlocks fury is cool. But if you want to keep a realm of practicality, it isn't practical. Okay, Nick, but techniques, letting the abilities, actual abilities unlock through experience makes perfect sense, both in being good with weapons and making them do neat stuff. That's why, in addition, the Glaive Master and Polearm Master are really neat combos, because you can, especially with something like Boar Spear, you can hold somebody back at reach. Now, one person doing that's great, but you gotta stop thinking like one-on-one. Please, authors especially, stop thinking about one-on-one matchups, because that's how movies show it, okay? You watch a movie, okay? The hero drops in. He is surrounded by 30 ninjas. Oh no, putties! 15 dudes. And one or two at a time. Come on, get kicked. We matched up. Not what melee looks like, especially if they have any idea what they're doing. No, you want to see them come in, close rank, and F a single, because 9 times out of 10, more people versus a single person will tear the single person up, unless they are very, very good. And we got to get our mind out of both the I'm going to be heroic mentality and out of the, well, I'm going to be fair. No, if you are one of the multiple people, fight together. Use your tactics and engage. This is good martial arts understanding, okay? Western martial arts isn't a karate competition. It isn't. It should not be, I will stand here, you will stand there. When they say go, we will go. That's great for attorneys and cool stuff, but that is not where Uncle Nick lives, okay? Self-defense is a melee, because I will say there is always another 7-letter word, okay? That's how you should fight. That's how you should train. You should always expect one more D-bag to come around the corner, because I grew up in some shady stuff. I saw some shady stuff, and I will tell you, bad guys don't fight fair. Okay? They're ambush predators, and they attack in numbers. They don't want a fair fight. They don't want to fight they can lose. They want to be able to jump in your grill, take your stuff, and leave. Or have fun messing your day up, and then leave. They don't want any chance of sportsmanship. So you need to write tactical people like that. And when you're dealing with somebody who's fighting monsters, holy smokes, don't fight the bear! I love Dracula. He's one of my favorite villains of all time. And I adore the Castlevania Dracula. He's sort of almost a peak version of tragedy and malice and fury. What is a man? Crash. pitiful pile of secrets. Now, miserable little pile of secrets. Why should I am the hero? One moment. I'm going to tell you something. There are very few heroes in the world. Okay? You look at the baddest mofos in the world from a military standpoint. Almost all of them at least have a fire team. Okay? Very, very few concepts are guys like Rambo, and even guys like Rambo need a boat driver to get them there, or a plane driver. They need support. They need medical assistance afterwards. You got to get over this one man alone, both as a trope because it's boring, unless you have a really good reason, and then it should be hard. Okay, if you're gonna write, if you're gonna have a character, if you're gonna have fights, if you're gonna have things like that, the one man alone is rarely gonna be John freaking Wick. And even if he is, he's gonna take damage, and he's gonna have to be tactical all the time. Like, and I don't mean like, oh, I'm cool. I mean thinking, where are my exits? How am I getting out? You know, what's my defense? Okay, I have to sleep at some time. How am I going to secure? Where am I going to sleep? I need to eat. How am I going to get food? This should always be running. Even the best sniper has a backup, has a spotter. Yeah. Now there are scary dudes, and Sean mentioned even the best sniper has spotter backup. There are one-man sniping dudes. Usually it's almost more of a Green Beret kind of critter. Ugh. Those are the guys who crawl out across 3 or 4 days belly through the jungle to get where they're going, sit still for another 2 to take a single shot and then disappear back. That's a different breed. That's pretty much the ultimate ambush predator. They do exist, and they are scary. But that is one of those where you're getting as close to human superpowers as humanity will let you. And even with that, it's steeped in incredibly heavy training, heavy tactics, heavy tactical application. You know, it's not fast, and obviously it's not showy. It's like as soon as a famous spy I'm going to talk a little off topic, but if there is an ancient book, and it is called Smiley's People, and it talks about spies. I will give you a hint. Though James Bond was loosely based on an actual set of things, most spies, if they're good at what you do, you have no idea they're spies. And the best spy's job is not to be like one-man wrecking crew, Michael Weston. No. They're supposed to be innocuous and learn things and tell the things they learn to other, to their handlers. That's the best spy is somebody you don't even realize is in the room. They seem or have made a reason to be in every room they're in. No one takes them terribly serious beyond their menial goals, and they're never a spotlight. Spies are toads. They're camouflaged. They're subtle. They aren't big, shiny bullfrogs going, "Burp." Now, why am I talking about this, and how does this all feed back to Western martial arts? One, if you have a group, train with the group as a group. If you don't have a group, find a group. And what does that have to do with now? We are entering a very strange place in history, in a very strange nation in history, and people keep coming to me, I want practical versions of what you do. Like, hold on. Have you listened to what I do? I was brought up with certain tenets, and they affect the field. We're not talking, okay, there are layers, okay, of a conflict. when you're taking martial arts, taking Western martial arts as a conflict, you have to understand there are layers. And I'm not talking the radiant circles I usually do. This isn't about physical range. This is range of action and perspective. The dude on the ground facing another dude or dudette. It could be a dudette on the ground, whatever. Oh, for those of you who don't know, I was born on the West Coast. Dude is like all. Anyone and anything can be a dude. It's not a sexual statement, just whatever. Dude on the ground. It boils down to the thrust or the single attack. That is one layer. A single action. Yeah, gray man theory for days. But don't. Well, I want to talk gray man theory. I need to caveat gray man theory because I have some different approaches to how I think the gray man theory can be applied. That's really good. But on one level, you have that. The next level is whatever the guy is trying to do. He's in this conflict for a reason. The next level is the group of people who are also in the conflict. The next level is the commander who's overseeing that conflict as part of a larger conflict. There are layers. And understanding that, you have to start thinking in terms of victory conditions for you and for the next layers up, or the layers below if you're in a command role. It gets into why I hate chess. But understanding that and understanding that mentality is the only way to write a single survivor. And I've just reached a point where watching films, one of the most potent techniques, one of the favorite tropes in many, many films I really like, is the one man alone. And this could be things like Michael Weston, especially early seasons Michael Weston. This can be Dread Pirate Roberts. This can be Wesley. This can be Rambo. This Liam Neeson and Taken. This character keeps coming up. How I used to train heavy combat for heavy was get a single blow. Well, yes. Okay, we got some stuff. John said, how we used to train combat for heavy fighters, get away from single blow or attack, 2 or 3, then reset or restart. And Steve said, not very well to John or I. So I'm not really sure. I lost the thread of the narrative you guys are saying. I lost it for a second. So a little bit of clarity. And John, absolutely. When we're going hand to hand, we don't classically fence in that we don't strip fence, parry thrust, riposte, parry thrust, riposte, parry thrust. That the right of way rhythm. It's much more complicated. And that's the more advanced is seeing single openings and then seeing when the single opening misses, what does it turn into? And I find that is best done not from you can teach people basic combos, and you see that a lot. And John will be the first to figure eights. In my world, it starts with 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. You guys have seen that 1,000 times. And if you haven't, somebody isn't doing their job. 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6. And you have 2 people that click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. The saber fighters do a triangle 3 form of it. But, ba, 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 ba. That's good, but no. Tom says no. Steve says no. Again, okay, you're not going to tell me what's going on. That's fine. I'm going to keep rolling then. I am a believer in organic training. I don't tell you what sentences to write, but I do give you words that are more likely to connect, okay? Fencing, sword fighting, and sparring especially is very much a dialogue. It is a physical, if you do this, I do that. You think in terms as a writer, it is a dialogue. So, the moments of a block is simply like a comma. I have paused the fight for a second. I've reset. I've come back. I've attached something. It did something, an attack, which opened up to do a better attack. Functions like a semicolon. And if I get, poke somebody, well, there's your period. Decapitation is your exclamation point. And when you slip and nearly fall over, it's, wah! Oh, got a great comment. I got pinged. Who is pinging me? Ah, the amazing scene. Oh, okay. What he said is people like Steve and John who are intimidating are not good gray men. Let's talk about gray men. Because there's a mythos, okay, about gray men that I disagree with. The theory is, as a gray man is develop a persona that just blends in. You ghost through. And that's making sure you know the local sports teams, even if you're not into sports. You know how to move and talk in a vernacular of your surroundings. You carry yourself in a sedate way. You don't make big body motions. You stick to controlled areas. There's a whole system of that. Now, if that works, if you can pull it off, there are other ways to approach the mindset, because you have to think about what is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of the gray man is not to be a threat, is to be somebody who either blends in or isn't worth their time. My problem is this. I walk with something like this a lot of the time. Even if I drilled and got in the best shape of my life, which if I can get some stuff straightened out, I may do. That is one of my hopes. If not, I walk with a cane. I can never not immediately stand out. Okay. Fine. And somebody like John. John looks like Hagrid. Trimmed up, he looks like business Hagrid. He lets loose, all furry, he looks like Harry and the Hendersons. Steve looks like the result of, Steve is like a result of a Valkyrie having forced intercourse with Gordon Ramsay. You have an angry, barely contained chef who can kill people. In the body shape of a brick wall. Okay. You try to be not memorable. And that works. But I say there is another layer type of gray man you can be, where if you realize you will stand out, you're big, you're handicapped, maybe you're the black guy in a world of white guys, maybe you're the white guy in a world of black guys. Your race may make you, hey, where's Waldo? That's where persona is so important. If I'm going to stand out, and I can't help standing out, I'm going to really stand out. I'm going to make sure, if I can't be a gray man, everybody knows what I'm about. What I want them to know. And I can frame that in a certain way. Anybody who gets on Facebook, anybody who looks through, say, my viewing history, my search history, anybody who watches these videos knows I am both politically minded and martial arts, semi-trained. Great. I'm also very clearly about a peaceful reaction. I'm very clearly geared towards towards building people up. Okay? Will that attract predators? Kinda. But I find predators don't like when you can look them in the eye. And everywhere I go, I'm looking for, I play 2 games mentally. 2 games to keep my mind sharp and to deal with the twinges of hypervigilance I get sometimes from my experiences. What's wrong with this picture? And spot the spy. What? We're talking practical, real stuff. And you're like, what's wrong with this picture? Remember the old things? One of these things is not like the other. What's wrong with this picture? These Sesame Street little games that they had kids. You just always play that. Part of your mind is always looking for something that doesn't belong. And it can be anything. But the more you do it, the more you develop the ability to fixate, to lock on what's wrong. For example, as I was talking about this, just because of the fan, the tarp behind me that I use as a backdrop because nobody wants to see the old family pictures in a beat-up old computer, moved a little funny. I didn't even realize I was moving for a stick. Yeah, scene assessment. What's wrong? That is part of it. The other thing is whenever you're in a crowd of people, spot the spy. Because if you say, look for the bad guy, you're looking for a bad guy. And bad guys aren't always, they don't always look bad. But if you tell yourself, spot the spy, you're looking for somebody who's doing anything that doesn't quite look, feel right. You're training your gut. And it can have interesting results because you'll find out your biases real fast. Because a lot of people have racial bias, they have age bias, etc. But it also, yes, Cindy. Cindy said, I started playing What's Wrong with the Picture when a situation gives me the willies. It didn't get talked about a lot, but it's not often that new, find the abnormal one. But I always want to keep it, I want to keep a feel of optimism, or else it's depressing. Where's Waldo? But and I gotta be careful with that because there should be joy in you're not doing something, and it means when you spot somebody, if you flash a reaction, because most of us will do a micro expression, they are prone to respond with an attack. But if you respond with delight, they respond with confusion and inquiry. Okay? This is why if you think somebody's following you and you're in a crowd, turn around. Hi! Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were John. You look just like John. And now you're looking at the face. Wow, I'm so sorry. I thought you were John. Any criminal with their salt is going to back away as long as you're not in an isolated, dumb situation. I'm talking, this is when you feel like you're being cased. You don't run away. No, hi. Let me take a good look at you. Wow, it is eerie. Because now they're thinking, if you talk to the cops, you know what they look like. They don't like that. I found some really great articles over the years on what reformed muggers, what even reformed hitmen looked into, okay? And it's like, where does this go into? This all comes back to Western martial arts, because Western martial arts is a wonderful simulation. It teaches you to read intent. Teaches you to read body language, because the body language between a sword thrust, the body language between a knife stab are very, very similar. And as I was saying, you have an organ in your stomach, a complex neurological organ they're just realizing is there. It's why when you're hurting, when something feels wrong, you feel it in your gut. Or somebody's lying to you, I can feel it in my gut. There's literally an organ involved with instinct that has to do with digestion. It's very, very strange. It's kind of new science, high level stuff, but it's there. And they're like, wow, what we've been saying for years. Now, John popped in with look for the calm squirrel in the crowd that is just too calm and very aware of his surroundings. Ironically, that's exactly why I'm always want to be smiling if you can help it. It never hurts to start with a positive vibe. It never hurts to look slightly less that you can take away. I would far rather be underestimated than overestimated. I want, but I want to be able to switch. And that's only achievable through a sudden, violent escalation of action. Now, not necessarily violent escalation of violence, but a sudden, violent escalation of response, of action. That's the going, hi! You want to keep people off balance by you being balanced. And I'm going to tell you, if you are aware of your surroundings and wow, it's beautiful. Look at all these people. And you're checking your quadrants. You're stopping to look behind you. You're looking up. Humans never look up. Train yourself to look up. Open your mind, and you will find when you are fencing, that has exercised that brain, and you'll do better. And the fencing, watching, and paying attention will transfer there. It's all about building a gestalt of enhanced experience. This is the kind of stuff I wanted to talk about in my third book. I'm writing my second book. I have plans for my third in the Simple Sword series. And the second book is the Strong Sword. That's where I'm going to talk about concussive attacks, melee stuff, spears more, good things like that. After that, if the world is around and I'm still kicking, I'm planning to do a third in the series, The Surviving Sword. And that's a working title. I might change it, And that's the part that's, okay, how do I use this practically? Because it's all part of the same process. Now, I am going to be doing a video for Steve Clausen in the future at some point about improvised weaponry and self-defense. I've decided I'm just going to do it. We're just setting up some things in the background. Give me time, folks. But right now, I'm more interested in the mental, okay? Because I would far rather. Okay, fourth post before this one. My 1, 2, 3. Scene assessment. Yeah. And I think the mental needs to be talked about. But it's part of why I'm kind of happy I've switched to this knife. Because when I wear the black knife out, I realize it made people really nervous. The green knife doesn't. It doesn't make the good guys nervous. Find the closest thing and toss it at the enemy. No! Steph, no! Do not find the closest thing and toss it at the enemy necessarily. You need to be able to assess instantly what the closest thing is and if it's better to toss, because you don't want to throw something that they can pick up and F you up with. Now, attack guard cats. Now, it is not humane, but if one were to chuck a ornery cat at an attacker, it might buy you some time to better arm, depending on your situation. Actually relying on, I'm being silly, I know that. No, see, that's the thing. Are you, though? It's silly, but it's like, if you have one cat that hates the world, and somebody breaks through your house, into your house, and you got nothing but the cat. I love my animals. I love all animals, but I'm not going to die for them. So, yeah, there is a logical process. I don't support hurting critters, but I do see the potential logic of it is a distraction. And there's nothing wrong with distractionary things. Throw a couple pillows and a brick at somebody. The second pillow they think is coming, that, rage cleverly disguised as a brick. But if I ever do that, well, when I do that video, well, that's your choice. I would die for my kid, but I prefer to live for them. In the words of Patton, your job is not to die for your country, it's to make the other son of a bitch die for his. And pardon my language, but it was a direct quote of a historical figure and patent-decided sword, so I'm still on topic! Wow, that was good. We're an hour in, so I'm going to knock back a few beverages. If you guys have some more comments, keep firing them away. And I'm going to go to my sponsorship, which I don't have an actual commercial, so just bear with me. This broadcast is brought to you by The Simple Sword by Nicholas Tucker, where you can learn the basics of swordsmanship cheap, easy, and nearly free, especially if it Kindle Unlimited. Look me up on Amazon.com/authors/Nicholas Tucker. Now, if you like what I'm doing, please, please, please like, share, subscribe. And if you really like what I'm doing, I'm going to put the Patreon link. $1 a month goes to how I can afford gear. Right now, obviously, I'm saving up to get better internet so that you guys won't have to deal with the grainy, shaky, cutting in and out stuff. Upgrade my resources, and it's just been challenging. So, if you want to help out, because I pull all the stuff out of a shoestring budget, I don't charge my students. I've only charged one, and that was because he asked me to do in-home custom training, and I needed gas money. So I try to keep it free for my students because I don't believe in gatekeeping. That's why my book is as cheap as Amazon will let me make it. It's why I keep putting it up again and again free for Kindle Unlimited, because I can do that. I want you guys to have access to resources. And that's why I describe and I give so much free right here on this forum, because that's what I'm about. If you want to support that, please consider making a donation. And if you don't like Patreon, or if you know me, you guys know how to hook me up. I have no problem with that. If you don't, let's be friends anyway. I also run the Historical Fencing Guild public group, which on Facebook you can contact me. You can contact the former guildies. I believe Cindy Kep, John Miner, and Steph are all on there. So it's a great place to touch base with fellow martial artists of different disciplines. And that's what the guild is about. The guild is meant to be a Rosetta Stone where people who are strip fencers can talk to LARPies, can talk to Krav Maga guys, and everybody can kind of come together and just discuss and educate. Like I said, sparring is a dialogue. Dialogue can be sparring. So let's keep that going. Now, like I said, I know I am behind. I have some editing videos that I was planning to put up, but I couldn't edit and do that without the internet, and I've been without internet all week. So we'll see about this weekend. I have a lot on my plate. I'm also, if I can get the funds together, I really want to review some, they have some synthetic fencing swords. And by that, I mean Leon Paul has a synthetic saber, has a synthetic epee. And I like the synthetic weapons. I like them because they look like toys, in that they're obviously one plastic. This is good when you have to deal with the possibility of law enforcement looking at what you're doing. There's safety. They're easy to maintain. They're lighter. We have a lot of people who come to me, Nick, I want to learn to sword fight, but hand damage, body damage. I can't swing a broadsword. Now, part of it is the freaking mythos of the weight of a sword. Because I'm going to tell you something. This is a foil. This is a foil. No, this is not foil. This is a 30-inch rapier. If I were to take the tip off this and etch it, it would be a functional devastating little sword. Scaled pretty well to yours truly. This is not terribly heavy. You want to get me mad. Miss Kep was talking. Miss Kep? I think it's Miss Kep. If it's Mrs., I apologize. But Cindy was talking about, fight choreography, things I hate. And John's going to laugh about this, and Steve's going to laugh about this. The great sword is heavy trope. I hate when I see a show, the guys, I can't even reach to dragging the great sword, and it's dragging. Now I get it a bit with Pyramid Head and a sword that's 20 feet long, but it's a miss. Okay, thank you, Cindy. And I'm sure my viewers thank you for letting that know too. But if swords were that slow and that ungainly, nobody'd use them. There were a couple giant swords in history, but most weren't used. Much. It gets weird. You get executioner swords as a hinky thing. You get that horse chopper sword in Japan. But mostly people want to keep things balanced. How to get around blocking devices and shields. Okay, I can actually talk about that. I assume that's what John wants to talk about. Cool. Well, part of it is mobility. Part of it is visual acuity. And targeting. What do I mean by these three things? Especially the single shieldman. The single shieldman is an entirely different creature than a shield wall. Let me pull out the book. Yes. Oh no. I've seen guys in full armor padding, getting ready to fight, bouncing up and down, boing, 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 couple feet off the ground, fire up, fire up, fire up. Dude shorter than I am, boing, boing, boing. I think his name was Garrawolf. But proper armor, and when we get into the armoring, which because I haven't been able to get set up, should not be encumbering that much. If it's fit to you, the weight's distributed, it shouldn't be that bad. And if you're not afraid of using relatively modern materials, it really shouldn't be bad. Now, yes, the military gear is insane sometimes, but most of us aren't military. We're not going on, 100-mile hikes being crazy infantrymen with 250 pounds of gear. We're fencing in the backyard. And John makes a valid point that the William Wall, great sword like William Wallace is 5 to 6 pounds. Yeah, they are not terribly heavy. But John was asking about getting around shields. So I will bring up the book because I do a brief intro that is buckler oriented. We got to talk about the buckler. Okay? Now, buckler has a cone of defense. Let me see. What that means is you have to think line of sight as a linear thing. And I'm going to have to give you a weapon. I'm still here. YouTube gets funny if I'm off screen, so I'm going to arm you with this here stick. It's got a couple grooves. It's kind of handy. Okay. Boom. If I have this against me, this is my little tiny buckler. I have a much larger buckler lower. But it covers practically against my chest less than John's splayed hand. John Miner can easily wrap his fingers around its creep. Boom. But if I present it fairly strongly, now it covers a large range. And the goal with something like this is not true point defense. In fact, true point defense is almost less effective in my experience. Whereas connecting and using it as a deflection device is much more effective. But it is a cone. Because, we're angle here. Line of sight, you might see the top of my head. So you either have to have a good enough idea where they are to go around refusing the guard, just like I refuse the blade, being anti-tacto installer. Talking to someone, yeah, they wear equipment. It's insane. I support our soldiers. I support our vets. They're freaking heroes, and they deserve respect. And they do like the labors of Hercules when nobody's looking and nobody even talks about it, including cleaning up after each other. But when we're talking a slightly larger buckler, it obviously makes a bigger cone of defense. Now I'm completely blocked out by something that's only that wide. The smaller the shield, the more strongly presented it needs to be effective. Oh yeah, firefighters are nuts. Watching trained firemen go through little tiny holes with all that gear, keeping a breather on. Look that stuff up on YouTube. That is an art. I don't know if it's a martial art, but it is definitely an art, and it needs to be venerated as such. But when you're dealing with a buckler, anytime, John, anytime. You know I respect this firefighter. You got to talk about how to fight against them. And you got a couple ways. The easiest way is to get a feint. Get them to be stupid. One of my favorite fighters of all time was a big guy by the name of Sabah. And he fought with a center boss round shield, okay? There's a neat synthetic one that's on my to acquire list, but we'll see. Okay? And so imagine this is all that way around because I don't have my riot shield up here or any of the small shields. This is what I got up here, so we're working with it. If you start attacking him high, he would do this. This is called tabling the shield. Now, if you're tall and he stoops, that's fine. You might not realize how easy the sword equivalent of an uppercut would be to the face, to this area, because the shield's gone up, let alone to the exposed kidneys. Yet, I travel with insane people, John. You guys, my circle has never been accused of being sane. So what you want to do is either force movement that makes them open the middle road. We've talked about the middle road a lot. Between the four quadrants, the middle road. This is golden. Right now, John's thinking Jesse. I know who he's thinking about. We'll get there, but your buckler's 26 inches. Cool. Like I said, there's the Hema buckler that's realized there are a couple really good products hitting the market you might want to look into. But I know the SCA isn't fond of the cold steel plastics, but I'm not SCA, so I can do what I want. What? Okay. With a buckler, even if it's presenting, you can see your targets. Feint low, hit the shoulder, neck area. Because if they parry up, as long as you could go with it, you still have a shot in the face. Picking the point of the elbow. So again, I'm going to arm you. If I'm here, that point of the elbow, if you can snipe that takes the arm away. This is good. And like I said, another shot, and it's right here in the book. It looks like what you're holding when I hold it. Of course it does, because that's scaled to you, John. You're a freaking giant. And guys, these guys are still going for like a little over $20 on Amazon. I cannot express, if you're doing Western martial arts, how good these little dudes are. It's real easy. When I have multiples of something that I've reviewed, instead of buying something new or buying something for me, I bought a backup one of these so that I can spar with equivalent. That should tell you something. They also make fashionable hats. But the other thing you want, and I like my orange one, so we'll open up, is to try to get if you can bait a parry so your slow shot is coming here. Let me get. You can use the mermaid stick to see if they're. You can't see what they're. And they can parry. Cavazione! See, disengage, move your sword around the line, and before they come in, skin to under. Oh, I have my waffle chip buckler too, John. I love that thing. Actually, is it here? No, it's downstairs. I think it's with the rest of the shields. Just because having an office where I do all my art creation, primarily my sword creation, gear videos creation, my armoring, and writing several different projects for different things and game design. Buddy, if you don't know what's going on in here, if it weren't for Lydia, I'd just lose it all. And she's staring with her dead eyes at me as usual. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I am still looking for the sword. I am still chasing and tracking down different makers to say this is the sword I would recommend for primary. Yes, waffle swords. And I could do a whole extended video if you want me to talk about the glory of a waffle buckler, as you call it. A little bit more advanced shield work with a little more prep. I can set up a nice video on that subject. But I am for the newbies. Oh boy, do I have a lot of weapons here. Let me see. Can I get this? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. Sorry, didn't mean to sound like Ophelia. That's a Reduced Shakespeare Company reference, and if you haven't watched the Reduced Shakespeare Company, the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged, you are missing out. Please watch that. But this is sort of the holy trinity of offhand trainers for HEMA fighting. Mine are all orange for your viewing pleasure. They all start out cold steel black. The trench hawk trainer, the medieval buckler, and the medieval parry dagger. Not to be confused with the medieval dagger. They do make a dagger, which is nice, but this is better. If they would make something equivalent to this, twice the length, and possibly with, at least a D-guard or I would love a more small sword rapier feel to it, I would literally buy 10 of them. Oh, absolutely. Well, we can, when things work, we can always we got decent shield wall. I'd love for you to work with Jim if we could ever get things back. And if not, post the apocalypse, we'll just start recruiting again. I'm okay with that too. I love training newbies. And I don't charge. But really, that's your axe, shield, and dagger. Those are your primary offhand weapons, in my humble opinion. That while there's no calibration to this, you better know what you're doing. This is one of my favorite trainers of all time. This is and that. It's less than $100 usually for all three. I've seen the combo go as low as like 50 if you are careful shopping, and that's almost cheap enough not to have to to compete with cutting out the HDPE yourself. So if I were going standardized, I would go with those. So that's why I frequently talk about them, because they're just good products. A lot of what people need to understand is whatever you're picking, whatever weapon, whatever style, especially Western March, especially starting. Sorry. I really need to change my setup. Maybe this week. We'll see. Be consistent. Pick one weapon, one length, learn it inside and out, then move out and keep that as your Rosetta Stone to other styles. I am still a big fan of a short to, full long, one-handed sword. No longer than roughly 36 inches, no shorter, 24 or higher if you're keeping to a sword, simply because you can actually usually drill with that length in a house in settings much easier than longer weapons. I don't know, John. And like I said, group wise, I don't know. We have that is going to be if and when the world ever opens up after this pandemic BS. And we're not shadow running from ESP whatever's because they came on UFOs. I don't know. It's 2020. Very little would surprise me at this point. I'd bet my first, anyway, I bet my first Stumpy robot that 2020 is not done with us in amazing, shocking, historical surprises. But, sorry, need to breathe. What should you? I need to know, and I need to know from my viewers. So that's going to be people who show up like Cindy, John, Steph, Steve. You guys right now are kind of my core community viewership. What would you like me to rattle on about? What do you want done? And the viewers, what do you? Because I have so much I can give. I was expecting not Godzilla plague. Are people turning into kaiju? If people are turning into kaiju, I kind of want to know this. I mean, man, this is the third time today I'm making the Special Task Force unicorn reference because there's no such thing as unicorns. But, man, I got to quit making that comment or Stricken's going to show up on my doorstep. And I have neither the physical ability nor the motivation to be of much use to him. But read Monster Hunters International if that's serious. If you don't know what I am talking about, if you do, then you do. And Earl Harbinger is probably sending his regards, which is better than Myers and Frank. But I think I might just do the complete starter kit as a breakdown as a video real soon, because I keep seeing people go for what do I need, and they want a sort of basis that would work for almost all groups, which is challenging. And what groups? The other thing, John, I am really big on encouraging one. John, you have studied a lot of martial arts. You've written a lot of technical manuals. You have written textbooks, both in firefighting, I believe, and definitely in assorted mill and technical backgrounds. It is time for you, John Miner, to write your manual. It is time for you to sit down. I think the obligation of those with wisdom and experience is to record it for those who don't have it. And it's just time, man. Put your open-handed style down. Write up the book and do like I do. Do a video talking about it. That way it's a companion. You have this talent. And you're part of an organization that right now can't train safely. They can't get together. They need resources. And you have the ability online with a couple simple tweaks to set up something where you can do that. Do it! Because the knowledge needs to be preserved. And a lot of people are like, Nick, you're bugging me. All over Facebook, my friends are like, why are you bugging me? Face-to-face communication is gone for a while, for as long as this idiocy is going on. Skills need to be imparted. Hope needs to be built. And hope comes from education. It comes from improvement. It comes from making a positive change in your life. So how do you do that? You learn stuff and you teach stuff. So, John, that's where you are. You are at the point of the Elder Gigante. You're at the point of Fiore. You're at the point of all these dudes who have done their thing for so long. They know their thing. Start writing. Yes. Yeah, you told... Yes, TJ did. And while he also told you to clean up your welds. So I'm going to give you two things. Clean up your welds. And that's mostly a joke, John. I'm poking fun. But really write it down. That's... that's that's what I'm trying to generate. I would love a few months from now, a few years from now, the people I know who know their stuff and have developed their own take. It's one thing to inhale and regurgitate, like the guys who hold up Guy Windsor's Swordsmanship Companion and they kiss the book and they cross it and they call it the greatest thing ever written. It's a good book. It isn't the only book. I've met people who are that way with the Book of the Sword. I've met people who are that way with Musashi's Five Rings. Those are one class of people. There are the other people who've done the School of Hard Knocks, trial and error and ground for years to get where we are. And we have an understanding. Good! You ain't seen the new stuff all sparky. Dude, I can't get to you. Set up a video, write it down in case, part of the reason I worked so hard on the Simple Sword was I have a lot. I'm going to get a little personal here, but a lot of the people I worked with at certain points learned martial arts, learned especially the kind I took as a way of getting over trauma, and they have problems with depression and, frankly, suicide. And I've had people arm them against the demons. Their demons. I'm not talking the sulfur spewing crowd, although who knows what overlap exists. I'm talking, their personal demons, because as you empower yourself physically and as you empower yourself mentally, you can empower yourself spiritually. Connecting with, I'm not going to tell you who to connect with or how. That's not God. But my job, there are people who are better at that. My job is to help people stay here long enough to find those people and get better. So they said, learning helped them. I got a message. I've gotten messages from people in Australia, people in Thailand, people in the UK who bought my book, and they're like, "It's great. I can learn how to sword fight, and it's simple. It's not crazy foreign languages. It's not difficult, and I feel better about it." That's what I'm doing. That it may not have. It may if I affected one person positively, all the hours of work are worth it. I know you've affected people, but I don't want to stop affecting people positively with my own existence, okay? If I stepped out on my street and got plastered by a seed truck, it would suck. But at least on top of things I know, understanding the concept of my own mortality, my book can help people who are still interested. I have things that can bring enjoyment. I have things that can bring imagination. I have this book that can help people get better through the sword like I did. Now, John, you have all these talents. You don't need, John, write it on your phone. Write it on a laptop. Write it in a notebook. It doesn't have to be ready for publish. But you just need to write. Just start scrabbling your notes down now. It took me 15 years to write the first book. And it's probably taking me 6 or 7 after. I have to, it's probably 6. Because I want to get it out at least next year if I can get through my current pay gig, because I have contract work and I take contracts deadly serious. But I want to get that out. Just start. It's like I know so many authors who sent me the starts to their stories. This is great. What should I do? Finish it. Publish it. It's not perfect. It won't be perfect. And your first one won't be the best because you get better. But you got to do the first one. Cindy Kemp knows all about this. She's an author. And she's written all sorts of nifty things. We live in an era where you can hop on KDP and publish without somebody giving you a rejection letter, without having to pay for a vanity press the way a lot of publishers do. Without having to deal, you just do it. Yeah. Write it up, John. Write what you know. You want to write about the shady side of the SCA, write the shady side of the SCA. But take your martial knowledge, that hodgepodge of Hapkido, Tai Chi, Korean arts, angry battle axe, whatever. You have created something unique. You need to codify it. You need to codify it so that your grandkids have access to the family style. There are a lot of organizations out there that offer layers of titles. You know what I mean? If you're in the SCA long enough and you're the right kind of person, you could theoretically become a knight but that's only for that. Or you could send $30 to Sealand and be a knight in the nation of Sealand. You can put Sir before your name. Or you could do something that matters. And this is to everybody. I know I talk to the people who comment a lot, but I'm talking to you too. If you do something that matters, if you know something more than some people, not everybody. Like I said, I've been doing this 20 years. I've been working with sword fighting. I consider myself a sword master in that I am an instructor. The same way a teacher is a teacher, whether they're a professor or they're a kindergarten teacher. They're still teachers. They're educators. I'm a sword master. I teach martial. I teach the basics. Will that make you a master? Will it make you superpowered? Maybe. What you put into it, you will get out of. But it is a system you can learn. And from there, I can say, hey, go look at Fiore. Go look at Meyer. You know what? This isn't you're more of a Bushido guy. Why don't you go Eastern? Oh, what? You want to do more open-handed? I can put you there. You want Krav Maga? We can go there. But you have this as a Rosetta Stone. You guys do that too, please. Please, please, please. If you know something and you can create and you can leave valuable. We live in a world. I got a rat coming. We live in a world where everybody can step up on their soapbox and they can say whatever they want. Social media has let everyone have a voice. And a bunch of people who don't know jack poop about whatever given subject they're talking about are prattling on. And God bless the right of free speech that lets them. But if you know what you're talking about, in this world of noise, you need to have a voice. And yeah, John, I teach many different weapons from edge to projectile. I know your background. And I know that many times you have not gotten the prestige. I mean, in life, and this is anybody, you don't always get the thank yous or the attaboys or the you've done good that matters. And maybe you won't in your life. Most of the great artists that I've studied, they didn't sell poop while they were alive. But years it's affected, it's moved. Da Vinci, Monet. I mean, these are guys who their creations go for billions of dollars. The prints and images have been inspiring billions of people. And they may not see it in their life. I'm going to tell you something. If you want to change the world for 6 months, plant some rice. You want to change the world for a few years, plant a tree. You want to change the world forever, you teach a kid. Pass it on. For somebody, especially like John, for somebody like Steve in some of his marksmanship stuff and some of his other shadier things, there is a responsibility of the arts and of the skills you've acquired to codify your take and pass it on so that it is there. It is a preservation of animals procreate, and they are driven to preserve their bodies through their genetic traits passing on. the sentient animal, the brain, these people, the head, you guys, we can, yes, genetics, yay, make babies, but our ideas, our thoughts can be pushed. And they can go on and on and on, and they can spiral and they can spread. And when you get into the mentality of planting a tree, knowing you won't live long enough to see it fully bloom, then you get an idea of what humanity is supposed to be about. We're supposed to build each other up and build on our shoulders to support the next. That's what it's about. John says, I want to fence you with two-handed longsword. I think you would like it, and I have the sword. I have fenced with two-handed longsword. I did like it. It's been a long time, and I'll have to see, my mobility and stuff. But yeah, when all this comes over, John, we're gonna play. We're gonna play, and we have a choice. And that's what these. I've done 22 roughly 2-hour live streams. So the equivalent of 2 days roughly talking continuously. Get roughly. Since this stuff went under. Because it matters. Students matter. Teachers matter. Ideas matter. If we can't face to face, we can't spar. I can't spar with you right now. Oh, okay. I get what John's saying. John has a sword that's balanced a little different. John understands my physical tweaks pretty well and preferences. But yeah, John, in this downtime when you can't fence, when you can't do the physical thing, you have an obligation to expand your mind and express your mind. What I mean, if you were fencing, you drill at home and then you spar. You study and you apply. When you can't physically do it, you mentally. You study, you bring your notes together, you apply, you write that crap down. I know. I'm loud and I'm rambly and I am incredibly passionate on the subject of preserving not just major historical knowledge and ideas, because I'm going to tell you something. There's a glut of noise, and it is on very fragile formats. We have forgotten just how brittle the technology of the internet is, how brittle this thing is. Get your stuff, get it out to people, and by God in heaven, get it hard print, real print copies. Because at some point, these might crash. That's going to last longer. And, you got to ask yourself this, okay? The end. I've nearly died a few times. Short-sighted things, long-wielding things, and I've been around a lot of death. I've seen a lot of death. And I've heard, there are things I've heard. And when you talk to somebody who's on the way out, man, what they talk about, what they miss, what they regret is different. It's not the newest toy. It's not, I wish I would have gotten this. It's time with your family. It's chasing the dream. It's making a difference. And I hate with a passion regret. Believe it or not, for as limited as I am, for as sick as I am, for as right now raging impotent against a world of stupidity as I feel, I keep few regrets because I try to honestly do my best. And if you do that, you will feel better and you will mean stuff. Yes, John. Yes, please put it on paper. And I'm going to tell you what, you put it on paper, you send it to me, and I will review it for you, and I will talk about it on my channel. I don't have a lot of viewership, but I will plug your stuff. Sydney Cap, I know her. You don't understand how wonderful that woman is yet. She'll get your stuff. She'll read. She's interested. She wants to know. People want to know. And if it's well written and you know what you're talking about, it has value. And that's that, John, you take that and you send that. Okay? You write your stuff. You write your SCA stuff and you write your private stuff. And you take your private stuff and you do whatever you want with it. Again, I better get a copy. You write your SCA stuff. You send me a copy anyway of that too. But then you send that crap out. If you're not worried about the money, groovy. If you are worried about the money, make it cheap. But put it out to the SCAs because there aren't enough newbie manuals. And they're not. I wrote this book because nobody was writing something accessible. And you know heavy fighting, especially. Now, yeah, you've been fencing a long time, but you know heavy fighting. Write that shit. Because we are not competing. Okay? Authors, guys, you gotta get this out of our heads. We are not competing. We are creating to make things better. We can't let this capitalistic money hungry hippos, oh, I need everything. No. It's more important than that. Put it out there. And there will be people who say, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, did you read my book? Well, no. Then you literally are ignorant, so you can't talk about it. I read your book, I disagree. Why? Well, I'm not looking for a debate, I'm looking for a discussion. And maybe it'll make my next book better. That's how science is supposed to work. That's how education is supposed to work. Ideas, counterpoints, discussion, collaboration. Man, I'm nearly fire and brimstone this week, folks, but started at the bottom, now we here. You know, I first authorized in a borrowed tunic. It was borrowed from my old sword master, Aiden Denisiakis. At that time, I was a very slender, long-haired, leaping gnome, sort of a college-crazed, bright-eyed, blue-eyed, and nuts. But just little by my scale. And I could zip the coat up, and it covered everything. But I couldn't move my arms. I got my authorization. It's like, your style still did. I'm like, that's because I only have this much. What? It's borrowed armor. I can only move my arms this much. I was holding my own against high-ranking fencers with this much. You have no idea how little oxygen. I've trained dozens of people in I don't know how many different backgrounds. Some took it and walked away. Some went on to be brought, at least cam knots. Couple in training, I worked with people who, high level, medium level fencers, classical fencers, He was something else. I don't know how he's doing. I worry about him sometimes. I worry about a lot of the people. Even though people leave my life, even though they leave me shady sometimes, it is not in my nature to hate. It is, at least most of them, it is more my nature to say, wistfully ponder the people who I was useful to and then I was put aside, or they did, it didn't work out or whatever. I don't have a lot of malice in me. I don't have time for it. Malice, I think, is an insidious form of regret, and maybe it sounds warrior-y. I don't know. What a fat, gimpy guy in a Hawaiian shirt and yellow sunglasses can tell you about warriorship, but I think in the battle for our souls, in the battle for our minds and for our hearts, caustic stuff like malice and anger and grief, I don't have time. It's an investment of energy. Yeah, it's their loss. And I will admit, even the people who I knew were toxic in my world, a part of me misses. Always will, because I'm that guy. I talked earlier in the video, and I'm not cool. I'll never be cool. I am not aloof. I am not uncaring and unflappable. I do care. I care about people. I care about friends. I care about my enemies. Even the ones who actively hurt, I don't want bad. I would far rather have them go, wow, maybe I shouldn't be a dick. They don't even have to necessarily make it right with me, but just be better with everybody else. That would be great. I'm not that important. And I really am not. I can tell people I'm a short, fat, furry little man. But while I am not important, I do believe some of my ideas are. And I believe the work many times is more valuable than the worker. And I don't know. It's not popular. It's counter to everything I hear and see. And some people tell me, like John, that I'm on a good path. A lot of people tell me, Nick, you're a sucker. People just, you let people hurt you, and then you let them come back and hurt you again. And maybe that's true, too. Maybe that's part of why I'm in a current situation where I'm exceptionally isolated. We all have to heal. And Lord knows, looking back, I've acquired a lot of injuries. I've had people tell me, how do I get where you are? Because they've come in and I'm teaching, and it's like, I need to see what you know before I can let you teach my students. That's not a shot on you. It's a responsibility to them. And sometimes this has caused real ego. Don't you know who I am? Literally, I don't know. And I have an obligation to make sure good quality that isn't going to mess up their progression is hitting at a time. And when we can have that, we find, oh, wow, you do have skills. Oh, no, we don't. Let's build that up. It doesn't have to be, but we like psycho. We all are a little psycho. We need to be passionate about the things we're passionate about. And unabashedly so. That's the whole geekdom theory. I can't quote Simon Pegg verbatim, but basically it's very liberating to be unabashedly passionate about something you care about. And that's what being a geek is. Someone told me that a nerd is someone who is fixated on academic knowledge, and a geek is someone who fixates on collections and minutia. And I am a nerd who excessively collects skills and minutia for the sake of passing it on. I'm not sure how that all fits, but that's what I'm about. And I believe in being, with compassion when possible, open as possible. I will tell somebody bluntly the truth, and I've been hated for it. I'm hated right now. I have people I literally love, I care about deeply, who despise me because I've told them the truth, or because of promises I couldn't give them the exact stuff. Cindy Kep said, the force, geek, be with you. Nerd is mass times equals mass times acceleration. See, she hadn't even finished writing the response, and I was following that. And where do I live? The force and energy move through you, and the force that is moving has mass and acceleration. Woo! Thanks, John. John says you're a teacher who passes on what he learns in his straightforward delivery. That's what I aim for. And so are you, John, or you have been. I think you are one of those people who is best when being hassled about awards and people try to make you more motivated by prestige than I think you really are. And when you realize that you actually don't give that much of a insert four-letter word there about people think you can do amazing things rapidly. And it's a funny form of empowerment that I'm eager to see you get. John says, because I'm an energy amplifier. There's a book, a very old book by Jane Yolen. It's called Wizard's Bane. If I remember right, it's Wizard's Bane. But it's about a guy who ends up being called Thornmallow. And in a world of wizards, he's not a wizard. He's an enhancer. And the idea is magic comes into him, and it's bigger on the other side. I've been accused of being such a creature. Because I've also been accused of being a psychic vampire by some people, too, so who knows that. I just want to make things a little better. I'm not that important. I'm not. Except I'm a guy with a goofy blue tarp that's not even hung straight. You know, brandishing homemade trainers on improvised technology, you know, trying to scrape together enough spark to get things lit in somebody's heart. If I can make one person watch this channel better, remember Frank and you? Yeah, my bachelor party was not what anyone else would think of as a bachelor party. There was no booze and no inappropriate ladies or anything like that. There was one heck of a meat lovers pizza, and me in a truck with a werebear and a werewolf in the middle of an ion storm going down Route 6 as red lightning crashed overhead. I have lived in strange days. Maybe I'll do a show one of the days, an off-topic kind of rampancy dedicated to some of the more paranormal stuff. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. If it's too far off topic, it probably is, and I should talk about it anyway. I'm at a peaceful point in my life, but my point, and I guess the point of a lot of what I do is I'm trying to build you up with the best I have. I hope you like my materials. I hope it helps you. Hope you can pass it on to help other people. Oh, yeah. And carved at the bottom of the great tree of Camerai is a little Nick was here, but John said something friendly. We'll just leave it at that. You can check the comments if you care. But I want you guys to realize your talents. And a lot the people who are watching and not commenting, I know some of you guys. Use it, preserve it, enjoy it. And then enjoy seeing it. There's nothing like seeing somebody's eyes light up when you're teaching them or they found it. And we live in a time of great upheaval. We live in a time of pain and fear and agony. And it's too big for me. It's too big. Like I said, I'm a short, fat, very little man. And I don't think it's the apocalypse, but sometimes it feels that way. And I tell people, I'm a dim, little tiny light. So I'm only valued and recognized in the dark. So that's where I tend to live. I tend to walk in the shadier places because that's where people need a little light. And I hope you can find yours. And I hope you can use that light to get to the brighter places, to advance and grow and transcend, to learn how to defend yourself, from the world, to empower and grow. That really matters. And I know this might sound far fetched. It might sound mystical, crud. It may even sound, Mr. Rogers, Bob Rossian, Steve Irwinian, love each other and yourselves, and from a guy who teaches people applied violence. But that's that's the yin and yang to what I do. The reason I teach it, what it opposes, and what I'm trying to build with it. It takes a sharp knife to carve wood. Creation has a destructive element. It always has, and that's what we're working on. We're creating better swordsmen, better swords ladies, better sword, a pronoun here, and that's not ignorance. That's just not wanting to offend and being old. But I want, and I think you want, to be better. And if we can't change the world, don't change yourself. Change a little. I have taught many, many times the goal is concentric circles. Okay? In a melee fight, you control your body. How are you standing? You control where your arms reach. You control where your weapons reach. You control the range of a projectile weapon. These concentric circles all start with controlling one thing. And all that comes to you consciously breathing. Air in, air out. Your pulse drops. Or speeds up if you breathe out. You calm, the world crystallizes. You understand. You understand the physicality of what you do. You understand the creation of what you're making. You understand just, wow, the act of actively observing the world around you. That crystalline focus is a huge part of what we're about. And I can say that because that's what I'm about. And when somebody looks me up and they're doing tactical analysis or whatever, because I understand these people look me up, they're going to see this, and they're going to check the truth that I am, God help me, a goofy philosopher. And I need to write that down too, but I haven't solidified it enough. At least not for that. I'm still working on it. Hope I live long enough to finish it, but that's a work in progress too. And at the end, that's all we are. Now, I've been talking for almost 2 hours. I'm about 30 seconds out from 2 hours. And I've been talking a lot. It's been passionate. John, you've said some really nice things, and I appreciate it. If you like what I'm doing, like this video, share it so other people can see it. Subscribe, because I'm going to keep doing one of these videos just about every. Now, the 28th, I may have a short, I don't know yet. That's technically my birthday. And I'm not really sure what I'm doing that night, so we'll see. But I've been putting on this live stream every Friday because I can't have practice. And I need to serve. I hope it's been of value. If you like what I teach and you want to know more about the sword fighting aspects, consider the Simple Sword available through Amazon. If you want to support what I do, consider becoming a patron of any value. I'm trying to institute a tier thing, but I feel bad making people gateway to pay for things, because that's kind of almost exactly what I'm not about. So I'm working on it. Take time and be kind to yourself today. Okay, just take a minute, turn off the TV, turn the feed. As close to the world ending is, pick a beverage, preferably non-alcohol, because I want you to be aware. But I don't judge. It's not my place. and just be in the moment. Breathe, relax, and find yourself just for a second. Find beauty in something. And next week, if I don't get the assorted videos I'm trying to edit, we'll come back together and we'll talk about more things. And I will try to be of use. Please prep your questions. Send them to me over Facebook or Messenger through this channel. I want to be of help, but it's easiest for me to be of help when I know what you need. So be good, wash your hands, wear your mask, keep your guard up, and as always, friends, support your local swordmaster.